Marvel Studios copying DC Cinematic Universe movies. I never thought things would get this bad in the MCU, but here we are. Coming to paperback and e-readers, John Haynes, A Thorn in My Side. The man who rules the world takes on an agent from the CIA from the Black Boule in this action-packed all-new John Haynes series adventure. Pre-order your copy of John Haynes' A Thorn in My Side at Amazon.com and other online booksellers. Better get the go slow, y'all, cause we're having us a barbecue. I got a chance to take a look at the trailer for Marvel Studios' Thunderbolts. And after looking at the trailer for Marvel Studios' Thunderbolts, I'm scratching my head wondering how this movie fits into the overall Marvel Cinematic Universe. Now, the Marvel Cinematic Universe has been in a really bad place over the last 4 to 5 years as we've gone into Phase 4, and Phase 5 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And when I look at this Thunderbolts movie, I'm looking at possibly Marvel Studios' second biggest flop of the year, next to Captain America: Brave New World. Now, like Captain America: Brave New World, the Thunderbolts is a movie that basically feels like it was made by committee and basically just greenlit for the sake of being greenlit without any sort of reasoning to why it should fit into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. No, when I look at the overall trailer for this movie, it fails to answer a critical question that a screenwriter like myself has to answer before I put fingers to the keyboard, and that question is, why should we care? I mean, why should the audience care about the Thunderbolts as related to being a superhero team? A superhero team formed from leftover characters from parts of Phase 4, and Phase 5 movies and TV series that basically feel like they're basically thrown together for the sake of being thrown together in a cash grab to get big money at the box office when the Marvel Cinematic Universe was popular. Unfortunately, the Marvel Cinematic Universe has started to decline in popularity due to the poor quality of the films of Phase 4, and Phase 5 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And this big budget blockbuster movie really doesn't feel like anything special. And since it doesn't feel like anything special, you never really have that reason to care about what's going on screen as related to this movie. Now, the overall build-up to this movie's story is really weak and feels not like a Marvel Cinematic Universe movie at all. No, what it feels more like, it basically feels like a DC Cinematic Universe movie, and it looks more like Kevin Feige was sitting there watching James Gunn's Suicide Squad movie and decided that he wanted to go out here and make his own copy, and that really says something about the sad state of affairs of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, that you've got Kevin Feige basically sitting there watching DC Extended Universe movies and getting ideas to make his own movies from them, because that really shows how low the quality has become over at Disney as related to the MCU. I mean, it's a sad day when you see Kevin Feige going out here and copying ideas from a universe that Warner Brothers has already walked away from and is making a movie that basically looks more like a derivative version of the Suicide Squad and all of its quirky characters. Unfortunately, we don't get the quirk. We get that patented, unfunny Marvel Cinematic Universe humor, and a big problem. We got characters nobody really cares about outside of the Winter Soldier and possibly the Red Guardian, and a team that really doesn't have any sort of balance as related to dynamics like both Suicide Squad teams. Sadly, this film basically doesn't really feel that compelling, and it's just not something that really would draw you in as related to story, which is really, really weak because they have this Sentry character and the Void, a pair of modern characters that really were never connected to the actual source material that they're trying to based the movie on. And again, if you read the actual Thunderbolts comic and the first 50 to 60 issues, it would make a far more better movie than what Kevin Feige is presenting here with these scraps and leftovers from the MCU. Now, as I see it, this movie is just Thunderbolts in name only, because the real Thunderbolts were originally a concept of Baron Zemo, who basically took members of the Masters of Evil and then repackaged them as superheroes in a plan to conquer the world. And that whole concept would have been compelling to see on screen with the void left by the Avengers. Unfortunately, Kevin Feige didn't take any time to go out here building up the Marvel Cinematic Universe with compelling villains. No, he was so caught up in his tunnel vision as related to the Infinity Saga that he didn't take the time to build up many of Marvel's bad guys and build up a decent rogues gallery in the Marvel Universe in the time he was running the MCU. And as a result, we don't have those villains that should have been the real bad guys of the story posing as good guys. And that would have been a far more compelling story to see characters like Baron Zemo, characters like Moonstone and Screaming Mimi, and many of the other bad guys like Atlas, who were a part of the Masters of Evil, who had repackaged themselves as Citizen 5, Songbird, Meteorite, and Atlas out the Thunderbolts. I mean, the original Thunderbolt story in and of itself was a very compelling one, and it was a very compelling one because we never knew when these guys were going to be revealed as the Masters of Evil. I also forgot Mach 5, who was the Beetle. Again, the original Thunderbolts, that was a fantastic comic, and it would have led to a nice build when the original Avengers wound up having that confrontation with the Thunderbolts, and that would have made for some great storytelling on screen on the level of the airport battle we saw in Captain America Civil War. Unfortunately, Marvel Studios basically doesn't have that kind of vision anymore from Kevin Feige, so instead of us getting a really quality story, what we get is this rushed together hot mess of a movie, which basically was Kevin Feige trying to copy James Gunn. And with Kevin Feige copying James Gunn, this basically just shows us how low the MCU has fallen, because, again, originally the MCU was the high standard of what superhero movies were supposed to be. But sadly, what's happened over at Marvel Studios is that the quality has dropped so low that Kevin Feige has gotten so desperate that he's now copying over on the DC Cinematic Universe, a universe that has gone defunct, and created a movie that is definitely going to be the second biggest flop of 2025, right behind Captain America Brave New World, because this movie in and of itself is just not strong enough, I would think, to do very well at the box office, because it features a bunch of mediocre characters and sadly devalues one of the best characters in the MCU, which was Sebastian Stan's Bucky. I mean, Sebastian Stan's Bucky should have been the new Captain America and should have been leading Captain America in the Brave New World, but sadly, Kevin Feige decided to adapt the all-new, all-different Marvel, and not understanding that most of the all-new, all-different stories are just all absolutely terrible, and that's what's leading to yet another adaptation of yet another terrible concept that is basically, again, showing how bad things have gotten at Marvel Studios. And this film, in and of itself, basically is the true definition of just absolutely mediocre. Again, you've got a team that really has no balance as related to dynamics. You don't have that Hulk-type character to have that strength. You don't really have that tech character like Iron Man. You don't have any sort of real dynamic on this team. No, you just basically got a bunch of people, again, looking to again, make a movie as a cash grab in order to make some fast money. And again, as they look to make this fast money, they basically show how the house of ideas is out of ideas, and they show how Marvel Studios is in a really bad place overall as related to their overall universe and basically the overall structure, and that shows how damaged the structure of their universe is, because Thunderbolts, again, was a movie that should not have been greenlit. But what happened here is the same thing that happened with 2004's Catwoman. You had an executive like Kevin Feige greenlighting projects. And again, as he greenlit this project, he really didn't sit down and think about how this story would fit in his overall universe, nor did he think about how this story would fit in the overall dynamics of the universe. No, all they were thinking about was being able to get some quick cash at the box office and get some guys to go out here and buy some action figures. Unfortunately, the market has changed and people want another level of quality. And again, I think a lot of people are burnt out on superhero movies. And what we have now are figures that are going to be going to Ollie's, and a movie that's basically going to be seen as one of the worst movies next to Captain America Brave New World, and possibly the rock bottom point for the MCU. I mean, I'm sitting there scratching my head wondering how Fantastic Four can look so fantastic in its trailer, but this movie can look so mid. I'm wondering how these two different movies, again, can come from the same studio. One looks like one of the best movies of the year and possibly one of the best movies of the superhero movie genre. The other looks like absolute crap. And I'm wondering how two different movies can come from the same studio, and how what's happened with the quality at Marvel Studios, because something's really wrong here, that you cannot keep things consistent the way they were with the first three phases of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I'm wondering why the first three phases were so consistent, but this one isn't. I mean, could it be that they wound up rushing out too many projects at one time, which is partially what I believe, that they rushed out too many projects. And the other part is that I'm looking at things and really people are not really taking that care with the source material the way they did in the first three phases, because in the first three phases, they basically stayed true to the comics. But when I look at this movie, again, there's no real care to stay true to the comics and the source material. No, it's just the studio wanted to make a movie that fit their ideas. And sadly, as the executives looked to make the movie that fit their ideas, they wound up making a very disappointing movie, and one that, when I looked at the trailer, looks like one that I would say is one of those movies that shows us how far things have fallen as related to Marvel Studios. Because when I look at the Thunderbolts, I don't see Justice like Lightning. I just see an absolutely terrible movie that people will regret spending money on. Now, my first full comic, John Haynes at Death's Door, is available on Lulu.com, and if you want to pick up a paper copy, you can find one on Lulu for the same price as the 2022 Kickstarter. And if you want to check out my first digital comic, Esteem No Good Deed, you can find that comic on Kindle for 99 cents on Amazon.com, or you can find it in a paper edition of the Esteem series book, Esteem Blast from the Past. And if you want to check out all the action-packed stories in the SJS Direct universe, you can find all of those stories, like the ISIS series, the Esteem series, and the John Haynes series on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find them at other online booksellers like Draft the Digital, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, and big box retailers like Walmart and Target. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.